think...
They say that you're the Trump whisperer of the leaders.
I'm not
and
sure
that
about
you're
that,
on
but...
texting, relations with him and you're constantly talking. So is he still saying he wants to annex Canada?
He's not.
More trouble with Trump tariffs in our trade war. I wonder where all these problems are coming from. CBC is going to give us a report here blaming everything on Trump. The question would be, do you think that there are some faults with our federal government in the way they're handling these negotiations? Our big-time banker doesn't seem to be such a great negotiator as he says. We're going to follow this up with some of the reasons that Trump might be sticking the tax to Canadians. Let's take a peek.
I still think that it would be helpful for Canadians to know exactly what you would do when it comes to tariffs. So why are you being so reticent to talk about that?
Because I'm a good negotiator. I have negotiated a number of situations in the past. I know how to manage crises.
We begin with breaking news from Washington, where Donald Trump has delivered a major salvo in his trade war, this time aimed squarely at Canada. In a letter addressed to Prime Minister Mark Carney and posted on social media, Trump said the U.S. will charge Canada a tariff of 35% on Canadian products sent into the United States, separate from all sectoral tariffs. He also said if Canada retaliates, he'll simply increase the tariff rate once again. Let's head right to Washington now, where Chris Glover is following this breaking news. Chris, walk us through what we're learning tonight.
Christine, it's not long, but certainly it is significant. Trump starts by saying it's a great honor to send it, and it demonstrates the strength, Trump says, of our trading relationship. But then comes that bombshell. Trump says starting August 1st, the U.S. will charge a 35% tariff on Canadian products going into the United States. And this would be separate from sector-specific tariffs on things like steel and autos. And again, Trump mentioned fentanyl right off the bat and Canada's failure to stop the flow of the drug as the reason for the tariffs, but also said other financial issues, including Canada's protection of things like the dairy industry, made the trading situation unsustainable. And of course, this all comes as trade negotiations between the U.S. and many countries were ongoing. Obviously, Trump was unhappy with the progress with Canada, and he laced that letter to Carney with a threat, saying if Canada raises its tariffs in response, whatever number Canada chooses, that number would be added onto the 35% charge that he's announcing today. And we have heard from Carney's office tonight, Christine, only to say that the Prime Minister has received the letter and his team is hard at work.
All right, Chris, thanks for this. Chris Glover in Washington. Let's go to Ottawa now, and host of Power and Politics, David Cochrane. David, this sudden escalation by Trump comes as we're approaching the deadline set by Carney to make a deal with the U.S. What does this mean?
Yeah, everything had been quiet, Christine, which was a sign that maybe it was going well, but then suddenly it was not. I mean, this development is new. The tactic is not. Donald Trump, going back to February and March, had levied tariffs against Canada and threatened to raise them should Canada retaliate. It's essentially using the weight and might of the biggest and most powerful economy on earth against supposed friends and allies. This is very much out of the blue, but I don't know if anything should be out of the blue with Donald Trump at this point. We saw him evolve the tariff tactic in a letter to Brazil yesterday, threatening a 50% tariff against a country with which the United States has a trade surplus. To this point, the arguments about tariffs have been to remedy trade deficits. He doesn't have that with Brazil, and he made very clear in his letter to them that he's unhappy with the treatment of the former Brazilian leader, Jair Bolsonaro, don't like the trial that he is facing because of his alleged role in an attempted coup. He doesn't like the treatment of U.S. social media companies. So it's becoming increasingly clear that tariffs with Donald Trump will be a feature and not a bug, that he sees this as a cudgel that he can wield from the Oval Office against friends, allies, and opponents alike to try to get what he wants. Already with Canada, it's steel and aluminum, the threats of copper. He's working his way through the periodic table and all the key sectors of the Canadian economy. I was speaking with people in government tonight who have seen this. We don't know what kind of a reaction we're going to get yet from the Prime Minister because the August 1st deadline and the threat there, it is after the July 21 date where they hope to get these things resolved. So there's a window there to settle things unless Donald Trump does something else, and all bets are off as to whether that will happen.
All right. Thanks for this, David. David Cochrane in Ottawa tonight.
Oh, yeah. It would seem to me, gang, that Donald Trump did give Mark Carney a fair warning, saying, Like, lay off the EU, lay off this globalization. But Carney keeps on at it, throwing his ministers out there to deliver messages to Trump. That's not the way to negotiate, I don't think. Anyhow, it's very daunting just to hear the Prime Minister say these things. I'm a patriot. This stuff doesn't mix with the way I think.
Coalitions. You've said, in fact, if the United States no longer wants to lead, Canada will. Try to build a coalition of like-minded nations with like-minded values, etc., and who believe in international cooperation. What does that look like? And is that something that will trigger President Trump into more anger? He's already got these tariffs, and he's already said, if you guys essentially try to gang up on me, you'll have to pay for it even more dearly.
These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
So we're meeting now in that context in, as you just said, in hard times. We might say even a hinge moment of history, a world that's more dangerous and divided, a time where the rules-based international, the global order, rules-based global order is under threat, in a time when technological change is accelerating. And we really have two choices as a jurisdiction, as a country in this circumstance. We can nostalgically look back and long for the old order to somehow return, or we can build a new one with purpose and partnership. And as the most European of the non-European countries, Canada looks first to the European Union.
My message to you is Canada is not for sale. We're open for business, and we're open for science.
But I didn't like his predecessor. I didn't like a person that worked for. She was terrible, actually. She was a terrible person. And she really hurt that deal very badly because she tried to take advantage of the deal and she didn't get away with it. You know what I'm talking about. But so, you know, we had a bad relationship having to do with the fact that we disagreed with the way they viewed the deal. And we ended it. You know, we ended that relationship pretty much. The USMCA is great for all countries. It's good for all countries. We do have a negotiation coming up over the next year or so to adjust it or terminate it.
You know, David, I am one of the few people in Canada who knows exactly what it is to go mano a mano with the Trump administration in a trade negotiation. I know that it's really, really hard. And my view is that we as Canadians need to come together as Team Canada. We need to support our Prime Minister, the guy who is negotiating for us, and he has my full support. We need to recognize President Trump has said dozens of times he wants us to be the 51st state. I don't think any of us wants to be the leader who was asleep at the wheel and didn't get Canada defended, did not work with our democratic allies to protect our borders. They want to work with us. It's time for us to step up at home, to urgently reach out to them and build a new world order where democracy and Canadian sovereignty is
These
protected.
illegal tariffs, and we think that they're a direct attack against our workers and now on the in the copper industry, and so we'll fight against them. My job as the Minister of Industry is to make sure to engage with the companies and to engage with the union leaders. I've started yesterday. I spoke with Glencore and I went also to Tech Resources, and at the same time I'll be continuing my engagement later today. I have many phone calls that are already scheduled, and I'm of course in contact with my colleagues also on this. We are waiting for the details of this decision by the White House and by the President. But we'll fight against it, period.
Anything in exchange for...
We have, to be clear, it's part of a bigger negotiation. It's something that we expected in the broader sense that would be part of a final deal. We're making progress towards a final deal. There's more to be done, to be clear. And as I just said, which answers the translation question, as I just said, is a question of timing in terms of the date for the final negotiations and when the tax was coming into effect. And you know, it doesn't make sense to collect tax from people and then remit them back. So it provides some certainty, And as I just said, negotiations have restarted. We're going to focus on getting the best deal for Canadians. We're making progress. There's more to do, and we'll keep you updated.
What's going on in this trade war, everyone? Let me know in the comments. Which side are you on? Do you think Donald Trump is the enemy? He could be. Do you think Mark Carney's the enemy? He also could be. What's going on? Do you want to be a part of the European Union? Do you have Muslim values in your heart? Fine if you do. I don't compare them with Canadian values, though. That's ridiculous. What a thing to say. They can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, Mark. You squeezed it out. Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. Catch you in the next video. Man, what a strange time in our country. Wow.
The one we call